Ooga fucking ooga cunts, and welcome back to another episode of the Cunt Streams Han Solo, where we get geeky, nerdy, and all kinds of nasty up in this motherfucker. Today with me, of course, is Samaj, the artist, the man, the myth, the Thanos legend. I'm not sure what he's doing with this picture, but it's bitchin'.
Have you noticed that the missing persons have gone up by half?
God damn you.
Sorry.
Of course, with us as always is Igor from Renovations.
Hey.
And the very host of the stream, the man who runs this whole fucking operation, the very drunk Schmeckel.
Runs is a very loose term.
Yeah. Much like Samaj's sphincter.
If I could snap, I would.
Oh. God damn it.
Oh, Igor, do you know? Have you seen it?
I know what happens. I have not seen it, though.
Oh. Are you okay if we spoil?
I don't care. I already watched all the spoilers because I don't have the time or money to go see it.
Oh, fair enough.
You don't have the money to see it?
I have 3 children.
Okay, fair enough.
You should have figured that when he said, I don't have the time or money, immediately I'm like, the kids are the reason he hasn't seen it.
Exactly.
You know what? You're right. I should have put 2 and 2 together. Sorry, my bad. I don't know that. I don't know that pain. I've never had kids.
True. I
Fair
don't
enough.
know. Do you have nieces and nephews, Samaj?
I do. I've never met them, but I do have them. I have a nephew. So.
Well, this just got kind of sad.
Yeah. Welcome to the life of Samaj.
Every time I learn something new about Anon or Samaj, it's a sad thing. It doesn't get better from here.
Eventually, you'll hit rock bottom there, and then you'll start digging your way back up to the good stories.
Yeah, at some point. First I have to dig through the fucking goddamn horrifying past that Anon has, and Samaj just can't catch a fucking break in life.
It involves a lot of daddy sauce, doesn't it?
You're right. I should go get Anon some of the daddy sauce to say I'm sorry.
I mean, she would definitely appreciate it, but at the same time, coming from you, there might be some sort of joke that she's not going to enjoy later.
You think it'd be too much? You know what? I'll put in some hand lotion to go with it. Or is that too much?
How about we make it a special basket? And I'm sorry you grew up in a cult basket.
I'll give her an I'm sorry basket filled with all kinds of things, and she'll be like, "What is this? What are you sorry for?" The I Said Notebook goes on Indiegogo later this week, and I said sorry.
Oh, and I hope you get that figurine you tweeted out earlier, because I'm just like, you need that for more lewds.
I need reference material. I'll ask Anon what she thinks. I know what she'll say. It'll be hashtag I said no.
It's hashtag I said no. The Anon catchphrase.
Well, that'll be the title of the book. It'll be a collection of lewds starring Little Miss Anonymous in various different racy poses. It'll be the thumbnail.
Oh man,
we are
horrifying people. We're just awful.
Well, the sad thing is that she's the one saying no, and then all the other female hosts are like, "How come you haven't done me like that yet?" Like, well, I don't know. That's a good point. I should sexually objectify everyone else.
You should. Don't, but you should.
I should.
Although technically you did already sexually objectify Schmeckel. In case anyone forgot about the tentacle coming from the sky with the butt plug. We all know where that went.
Oh, the heavenly butt plug. Yeah.
Yep.
I call it heavenly. There's nothing heavenly about it. Fuck. So we should probably get on to the nerd-related stuff.
Very true.
So I just sit here sketching and laughing.
Hey, I'm doing the same. I gotta stop because I'm getting distracted.
All right. So what do we have on the menu tonight?
Well, there's always the obvious Avengers that's breaking all the records.
So, since you guys have seen it, what was your general assessment from two views? From someone who hasn't kept up with all the films, how does it hold up versus someone who has watched or at least kept up with the majority of the films to this point?
I don't know, Brock, have you seen all? Was it 18 films?
I have seen every single MCU movie more than once at this point. Sometimes I even go back and rewatch certain ones just to actually remember what happened last time before I go and see the new one and such. Like when Civil War was coming out, I went back and watched Winter Soldier.
Okay.
Winter Soldier, such a good movie.
Yes, it is.
One of the, I guess you could say, problems that this movie does seem to have, and it's such a minuscule actual problem, because really at this point, you should have already figured it out. They don't do a whole lot of character development with anyone, because you've seen them all before.
I figured that would be the case, and I've heard that as a complaint. And that's what I mean is if you are someone who has not, if you are just coming into the franchise and you don't know anything about these characters, is it still a good action-packed ride, or are you left going, what the hell?
I will tell you this much. If you are missing certain movies, like if you didn't see Black Panther or Thor Ragnarok, there are a lot of things in this movie that are going to confuse you when it comes to Black Panther or Thor scenes. But for the most part, you already know these characters. You should already know who these characters are, how they act, why they are the way they are, so on and so forth. If you've been missing out or lapsing on the movies, that's your own damn fault. Don't get mad at this movie for you not paying attention. It's just one of those complaints where, like I said, it's so minuscule it really shouldn't be a complaint, but it does actually hold up. The characters are the characters, like the way Doctor Strange is portrayed. It's pretty much still the same Doctor Strange from the Doctor Strange movie. Tony Stark is still Tony Stark. None of the characters have changed. But one complaint Zell and I did actually have is there were certain characters we wanted more time with on the screen. That was really the only actual complaint when it came to the exposure of all the other characters and various different scenes and stuff. There were certain ones we really just wanted a little bit more of, because once you get to the credits, you're just kind of like, you know, kind of wanted a little more Captain America in that movie. But,
yeah, I think it does suffer from too many characters. But the same point, I mean, they expect the audience to have already been invested at this point. They expected that you've already seen all the other movies.
Well, strangely enough, that was one of the main complaints that people had with the first Avengers movie. I don't know if you guys remember that one back in, I want to say it was 2012.
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest complaints. Everybody kept saying, well, this is just going to be a clusterfuck because there's all these different characters and they have their own individual movies, and it's just going to be really shoddy and really shitty, and you know, it's just going to be a massive clusterfuck. And then you see the movie and the credits start rolling, and you're like, it was not a clusterfuck. Holy shit.
Yeah, I think at this point, like when you hear Avengers, you should already know what to expect. You should have already known by now, because you've already had two films prior to this, Avengers and Age of Ultron.
Yep.
So you should know how this game is played. Here's this whole phase, and then you have this. The thing is, that's special about this movie is that it not only does it incorporate the previous phase of all the other movies, but every other one past that. Because ever since like the first Avengers, Captain America movie, when they introduced the Tesseract, that was like the first part leading up to all of this. You had to have watched Captain America to get all this. But I guess before we go further, Brockus, what do you think? Good, bad, yay, nay?
Again, yeah, I am one of the unfortunate poor souls that kind of sits right in the middle because there are so many amazing, fantastic scenes. Like that opening scene just grabs you by the balls and won't let go for several fucking minutes of this movie. Like I would say the entire first half of the movie doesn't let go of your balls. And then the second half comes around and suddenly it's loosening up a bit and you're starting to feel a little neglected.
Well, for me, there are no fence marks on my ass. I'm fully on the side of this is a fantastic movie. I am thoroughly in love with it, and it's something frankly, I'm ashamed I haven't seen more than once already. I should have seen it like 3 other times in theaters. Instead, I went to go see Ready Player One, which is something I meant to do anyway. So, but
Ready Player One was not a rewatchable movie. I'm sorry. I was so mad at that movie when I came out. I was just like, nope, fuck this thing.
Yeah, now it's a different movie. I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
I knew what it was going in, and then it was exactly what I expected, which is hard for me to be upset with it because it did everything I thought it was going to do.
Yeah, Zell and I are actually planning on going and seeing it again because we are kind of stuck in the middle. Now, Zell is in the middle, but he leans more towards the negative side of it. He doesn't hate the movie, but at the same time, he can't love the movie because he has too many questions. But we're hoping the second viewing will help our perspectives on certain things because, like I said, we have too many questions. Now, me, I only have certain questions for certain things that they have set up throughout the movies in the lore, and then other things they never fully explain throughout the actual movie lore that makes me wonder a bunch of stuff. And I will get into that in a little bit. But me, I lean more towards the positive side of the middle. I really enjoyed it, but at the same time, I have so many questions, I can't fully enjoy it.
Right. Well, we'll go back to the Avengers and talk more about that because Ready Player One. We might be confusing the audience if we're bouncing back between movies here.
Yeah, we are.
We probably are. Like you're apparently fence sitting on both those movies, but we're going back to the.
Oh no, there's no fence sitting for Ready Player One. I fucking hate that movie.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. That's fair enough. I mean, it is kind of anyway. Avengers. Like I said, I liked it. I had a lot of fun with it. If I had to say what pissed me off about it, I was actually not as entertained as I thought I would be by the Guardian scenes, the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Fair enough. That was actually, I think, one of the weaker parts of the movie. Not the first Guardian scene for me. I think that was probably the strongest part of all the Guardians stuff. But then as the movie kept going, I don't know. I felt like, Gunn, get your shit together with your characters. Although he didn't actually Tim Gunn wasn't the director for this, so it made sense, I guess.
Yeah, no, he just sort of, they call them for advice every now and then on how to handle the actors, so that way no one would get upset on set. Because at this point, I mean, everyone knows that they make a lot of money based on the actors alone. And so you got to make sure the actors are all happy. Otherwise, yeah.
Oh, but there is a funny thing about the Guardians opening scene that I actually kind of want to share with the audience a bit.
Quick question. Sorry, is it spoiler related? Because at this point we've been vague enough. Should we give spoiler warnings? You want to start talking about important stuff?
It's not really super important. It's just character things that do happen.
Okay, let's keep it vague, and then we'll whatever, and then we'll talk about that later.
Spoilers are coming, audience. Spoilers
will come. I will say this much. To keep it vague, when Antoine, Ishtar, Killer Groove, and Gwen went and saw the movie, they also saw it with Kadun. The 5 of them started laughing because it's a thing that me and my friends actually do a lot. We start to cast ourselves and our friends in the movie, like whose personality fits which character and stuff like that. I got casted as Drax. Kadunk got casted as Mantis. Zell got casted as Rocket Raccoon. And Antoine got casted as Star-Lord. And the reasons for it had me cracking the fuck up. And it was all things that happened in Infinity War and like based off of dialogue and this and that. I couldn't stop laughing. Like when they gave me my reason for Drax, I'm like, I usually do get Drax when we do this. This is a funnier reason why.
Right.
What the fuck? Igor.
That sounded like a story. It had most of the components of a story, but then it went nowhere.
That's because I'm trying to keep it vague and spoiler free for now.
Mm-hmm.
So I will explain, of course, later on why the casting has actually... in the past, the reason why I got casted as Drax was because anyone who's seen the first Guardians movie knows that Drax takes things too literal. Analogies, euphemisms, and all that shit go right over his head. And, of course, there's that brilliant joke of nothing goes over my head. I'm too fast. I would catch it. That's one of the things that I unfortunately do far too often in my life. And so I usually would get casted by my friends and saying, "You're Drax. Why? Because of that scene." Shit, fair enough.
It's so great how progressive they are having an autistic character in the show.
I love it. It's actually wonderful, and the fact that it's Dave Bautista doing that character only makes it that much funnier.
Yeah, that guy's big.
Right?
I see him without a shirt on. I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. Then when he wears a shirt and the shirt's barely fit, I'm like, oh fuck, that guy's big.
Yeah, I don't think there's a single shirt that exists in this world that he could actually wear and it fit him specifically.
Yeah, no. I mean, yeah. It's kind of funny you have all these like green people and they're always so fucking big. With the exception of Gamora. Gamora is the only one that's not like that.
I don't know about that. I mean, she's got fucking big ass muscles for a woman of her size.
If you say so. She looks awfully scrawny to me. And that's the other thing.
Keep that sexy petite warrior chick look.
I guess. I mean, I usually expect like women like that to have a little bit more muscle. However, she probably does have some artificial enhancements, so she probably has a lot more to her than you think.
But then you also have to factor in alien physiology and so on.
Exactly. So I mean, there is some suspension of disbelief. Unlike Wonder Woman, it's like there's no reason for her to be that scrawny. That's just my opinion, anyway.
No, actually, your opinion is a valid one. It's one that I used to have a lot when it came to comic books and physical appearance of a lot of different characters here and there. Like somebody like Kitty Pryde. I never understood how Kitty Pryde could be so combat driven or athletic in the comic books in the 90s and shit. And then they kind of explained why. And I'm like, I don't know if that really works. But the more, comic books I introduced myself to, like Guardians of the Galaxy, for example, the less I started caring, because I'm just like, you know what? I don't fucking care, because there's a giant green chick who basically can transform at will from being her regular lawyer-ass self into super bodacious badass chick. Well, so fucking stop arguing now.
I agree that there's a certain suspension of disbelief when it comes to entertainment. Mostly because, like, if you see in comics and stuff, there is something about that's true. However, I mean, when you see someone like if we're suspending belief, then why does the Hulk even need all those muscles?
I mean, very true fact.
Then if you have to incorporate the Hulk in order to do all of that, then why does the same logic not apply to anyone else? Like in Guardians 2, when Gamora took that huge cannon off that ship and started blasting at Nebula, I'm like, really? I mean, something about that didn't seem physically like it would work. It kind of took me out of the movie for a moment. Same thing. Like mostly it's just sort of Gamora and all that. It just doesn't
don't get too caught up on that stuff, honestly.
It's best not to. And so long as it's not like the majority of the movie, it's not really that big of a deal. It's just like, oh yeah, okay, there's a scene. Yeah, sure, whatever. You can brush it off fairly easily at times, so long as it's not like beating you over the head with it.
Yeah, there's always going to be that element of I'm not sure I believe that, but then again, you got to remember you're reading essentially a comic book and or watching a movie based on comic book characters that's heavily bedded in sci-fi and fantasy itself. Don't ask questions too much.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I'll let it slide for whatever, because it's not going to be a
for
big
now.
For now, I shall let it slide.
There's no point in dwelling on it right now.
Yeah, no point. Not really. Let's see here. What else to go over with this Avengers movie? I really like a lot of the villains, like the children of Thanos.
Oh man, the Dark Council is fucking great, and the fact that they paid such great homage to the actual appearance of them from the comic books is wonderful.
Now, for those of you who don't know, in this movie they're called the Children of Thanos. Mm-hmm. But I think what did you say, the Dark Council or whatever in the comics?
Dark Council, Black Council. It really depends on who did the stories.
Yeah.
But it's essentially, think of the Four Horsemen of Apocalypse, or even the Four Heralds of Galactus, whatever way you want to think about it. They're just four underlings, lieutenants of Thanos, and that's not a spoiler. They're in the fucking trailers.
I've heard there's a lot of homages to the comic, but the one that made me laugh when I heard that it was in there is apparently there is an homage to the Infinity Gauntlet arcade game with the bubble.
Yeah. so for those of you who are unaware, in the comic books, because in the 70s everyone was fucking high out of their mind, they decided to do this thing with Thanos where he had a special bubble power. And in the movie, they kind of do a wink to anyone who knows about that for the audience. And so as I'm watching it happen, I'm sitting there with my hands in the air looking at the movie like, really, nigga? Did you just do that? All right.
Oh yeah, he used that power in the Infinity Gauntlet arcade fighter game too. That's what I caught from that reference. So
oh yeah, it started off as just a joke in the comic books that they never continued on, and then the fucking arcade fighter game decided to bring that back, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding? No, not Thanos. This is why DC has a fucking leg up on us when it comes to our big bad villain. Because Darkseid never blew no fucking bubbles. But then at the same time, I have to make fun of DC because there is an actual comic strip where Darkseid is legitimately getting arrested by regular cops.
Hey, he declared war on Santa at one point because every year Santa delivers coal to him on his planet.
I'm sorry, but the fact that in his 1970s appearance for Darkseid, when the Justice League beats him, he legitimately gets fucking arrested, handcuffed, and put into the back of a squad car by regular ass police on Earth. I'm sorry, Thanos wins, bubbles and all.
Fair enough. Let's see here. There was a great homage to Rocket Raccoon's eye, the one he keeps stealing, or he wanted to steal.
Oh, it wasn't even just that. It's his obsession with cybernetic, animatronic, or robotic fucking body parts. Because he wanted to take the dude's leg from Guardians 1.
Yep.
And he also wanted to take that other dude's arm in I want to say it was Guardians 2, but it might have been Guardians 1 as well. I don't know what Rocket's obsession with fucking, like, you know.
Admit it, he's just trying to build himself the perfect girlfriend.
Oh my God.
I wonder if he's in the later movies they actually have him dating that otter. I know in the comics he has a girlfriend, some otter woman he sees every now and then.
Oh yeah, I think it's because they rewrote Rocket Raccoon in the comic books a few times. Where in one version of Rocket, he actually comes from a legitimate planet where all the sentient beings are in fact hybrid animal people. They're basically just what he is. He's a hybrid human raccoon type thing. And that's what the entire species is. So, yeah, him dating an otter chick, that kind of makes sense. It's an entire planet of Howard the Ducks. Let's not ask questions.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. And no, there is no Howard the Duck appearance, although there are some questions.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I am not one of those comic book fans who's like, oh, Howard the Duck reference. He was such an obscure character. That should have never been made. Again, everyone was high in the 70s. They should have never done that.
One and done reference on Howard the Duck. Let us never have another movie. We all had the one in the 80s, Howard the Duck, the movie. Let us pretend it never happened and move on with our lives.
Oh, no, I'm going to remind people of its existence as often as I possibly can just because incest! Well, I'm sorry, not incest. Bestiality. Still bad.
Hey, my roommate, when I was living in Germany, his college roommate died on the filming of that. He was the stunt double for Howard the Duck, but it's still, that movie doesn't need to exist.
Wow, okay. You just turned a joke into something really sad again. God damn it. We just keep doing it.
I wouldn't mind if they did do a Howard the Duck movie again, but only if, and because I don't know if you...
Apparently, according to Billy Bong, it was fantastic because it had duck tits.
Had duck tits. It did have duck tits.
Duck tits.
Damn it, you went to the same place I was thinking.
I believe... I think it was George Lucas who directed that back in the day. I have to double check on that.
I thought that was a Spielberg. Was it him? No,
that was Lucas.
That was Lucas.
All right. If they do another Howard Duck movie, please bring George Lucas over to direct it.
Now, if I remember correctly, that was in between filming of Indiana Jones movies, and he just, I think, was bored out of his fucking mind.
I think he broke into his stash from the 70s.
Probably, I don't know. George did some very questionable things in the 80s and 90s when it came to movies, and I don't want to think too much on it. Of course, Howard the Duck being one of them.
Oh, come on. Didn't you love the little mini-series, the 2 films based on about around the Ewoks?
Oh, you mean the movies that George Lucas himself regretted so fucking horribly badly that he wanted to see every single copy of that movie destroyed and removed off the face of the planet, and yet for some reason there were some psychotic collectors who actually still owned the VHS tapes of it, hence why George Lucas is probably still pissed off at Star Wars.
Hey, they're not nearly as bad as the Christmas special.
That is another thing we don't talk about. That George also wishes never happened.
Life ceremony.
Again, questionable fucking things Lucas did. He probably highly regrets. Oh, there's no probably. Anytime you bring that up in an interview, he gets mad. He just has this look on his face like, why the hell did you do that? Why'd you have to remind me of those terrible movies? I'd rather...
Did we lose Baracus there?
Sounds like it.
Yeah, I think he might be having some issues.
Hey, you're the one who's supposed to be having issues, Michael.
Yeah, I've been keeping myself muted so you can't hear the issues. Have you guys seen the new Venom?
You mean the trailer?
Say that again?
You mean the trailer?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the movie doesn't come out till October.
Yeah.
I mean, the new Venom as in the character, like Tom Hardy as
yeah. Venom. I like the look. It definitely has the right look for Venom. I know some people are kind of so on it. I'm not invested in one way or the other in the character or the movie. I'll see it when it comes to Netflix, ultimately. But it doesn't look terrible from what I've seen.
I think that there'd be a lot more hype over it if it wasn't separate from the MCU, which is what Sony is trying to do. I think there'd be a lot more like love and admiration for it if it was like a proper Venom, but it's not, and they're planning on doing like their own Marvel Cinematic Universe over at Sony. I'm not happy about that. And frankly, I don't think anyone else is, especially now that we have Fox back. And even if the Fox deal doesn't go through, I'm pretty sure Fox and Marvel are going to be working together on something. So I'm not. If it goes, great. If it doesn't, oh well. I'm sure they'll work something out.
Money speaks.
Money speaks.
That tends to be my biggest goddamn gripe with Hollywood right now.
Although
it feels like they just stopped caring about the fans and about producing.
They've never cared
movies.
about the fans.
Some have. We can argue in the past, some directors, some producers, some actors, writers, all that shit.
When you're talking low budget films, when you're talking large scale films with big budgets, oftentimes they're filmed in committee, not so much in behind the camera.
True, but I still like to think that there are still people in Hollywood similar to that of like Kevin Smith. He actually loves his fans. He cares about his fans, so he wants to produce good quality for his fans. We don't talk about that shitty movie he did for his daughter, though, because that was a gift for his daughter, and he didn't really have a big budget backing him on that one.
Most of his films, he hasn't had a big budget.
It's a little hard to get him to have a big budget.
True.
I think that also if he did get a big budget, I mean, he'll just give them whatever they want, which will be sad. So I think it's kind of a good thing he never does a big budget movie.
He has done one. It was that police movie, and he hated it.
Yeah, fair enough. Like, I would love it if he could do, let's say, a Superman movie, but I know he'll just do whatever he's told to do. And I'd rather he make the Superman movie that he wants to make, which would legit be an actual Superman movie. Right. So, granted, he was going to get Nicolas Cage to be Superman, so take that with a grain of salt.
Now I just have the image of as the Nicolas Cage from like when he was playing Ghost Rider, but just taking that style of acting right into Superman.
Please don't remind me of the Ghost Rider movies.
I didn't think they were terrible. I just thought they were campy as fuck.
The first one wasn't that terrible in comparison to the second one. The first one is super campy as fuck. It's still a bad movie, but I actually did enjoy it for the most part. For certain elements that I did get out of it. Again, still a bad movie, I admit that. But I will rewatch it. Spirit of Vengeance was a fucking horseshit travesty that should have never been made to begin with, and I don't know what crack cocaine he was smoking the entire goddamn filming of that movie, but Nicolas Cage should be ashamed of himself.
No, he just wasn't
be ashamed of himself for basically every fucking movie he's ever been in.
Hey, Nicolas Cage
will be in anything.
Yeah, the reason he'll be in anything because at one point he was so bad with his money, he lost everything. And then that's why he had that, 10 years of just shitting out movies one after another? Is because he had lost all his money. He had, like, let some shitty lawyer, and then he was buying random crazy shit and put it in his house. And,
have you seen pictures of his tombstone? All right.
Yeah.
It is an actual, gold-trimmed sarcophagus in an actual pyramid, but it's a small pyramid, but small by like size of a house, kind of a pyramid. I mean, that's his fucking. That's what he's going to be buried in when he dies.
And then his family can charge money in admission so people can go see it so they can pay off a staggering debt he leaves behind.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a strange waste of money, but I am so fucking curious. I really want to see this thing. I've seen the slight pictures. I want to see the whole thing. Boy, we come a long way since off topic of the whole Marvel movie there. Brock, is there anything else you want to go over? Should we start talking about things?
About Venom?
Well, we can talk about Venom more if we want. I don't know if we want to go back to the Avengers stuff.
Oh no, we should save the Avengers stuff for a little later into the stream. Like maybe make that like towards the end kind of thing, because we'll give the audience a hell of a show that no one's watching, and then at the end we will go ahead and announce our spoilers.
All right. Just checking with you on that one. I did want to say, as much as I enjoyed the seeing Venom's head with the actual mouth, it was a little weird to see the mouth talking.
That felt like early CG, like what they were cracking out as quick as possible for the trailer. Honestly, it doesn't feel polished yet.
I appreciate what Sony is doing. They're giving a better feel, a better look of Venom that actually is a lot closer to the comic books compared to that travesty that was Spider-Man 3. But yeah, I don't know. It still doesn't sit right with me. Like, I like the fact that the face mask and all that folded onto his face like it does in the comic books, but then he starts talking, does the tongue thing, and I'm just a little worried. Like, I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know. Like, I know that Venom always refers to himself as we. Did the symbiote ever actually talk? It's been a while since I've read a Venom comic.
It does.
Yeah, in the cartoons for definitely.
Well, the cartoons is actually where it kind of started, because in the comic books, anytime you saw Venom speaking, and it was the black background with the really weird wording and all that stuff, you're supposed to read it like it's two voices, because it's supposed to be like this kind of demonic vibe to it. And usually, whenever somebody thought demonic possession type thing, it would be two voices coming out of a mouth instead of just one, and it would be perfectly symbiotic and all that stuff, perfectly in sync. And so when they brought the comic book into, like, live action stuff, eventually they started playing around with the idea that the symbiote is also sentient enough to actually communicate with the wearer of it, which they dabbled with a lot in the comic books, but you wouldn't really see like Eddie having a conversation with the symbiote itself. It would just be Eddie talking to himself.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it does speak, but from what the trailer is telling me, it's speaking a little too much, in all honesty.
And it has like a deep voice. I don't know. I thought it would have been a little bit creepier to make it look like he was going insane.
Does it? Anyone else though? When you get a good close-up look at the way they've designed the version of him, get a Spawn mask feel for the whole layout?
I do believe that Venom was co-created by Todd McFarlane. So
yeah, actually, he was.
It makes a lot of sense that there would be some similarities. To that.
Basically, how it went down was Spider-Man was written and drawn by Stan Lee, and I can't remember the artist's name originally, back in the 1960s.
Steve Ditko, I believe?
Yeah, I believe that's the name. Eventually, Steve passed on the torch to another artist who would take over for most of the 70s and early 80s. And then eventually, Stan stopped writing for Marvel almost entirely around that time, sometime in the 80s, and Joe Quesada took over sometime in the mid to late 80s. It was in the early 90s when Todd came on that we eventually got Venom. And I think Todd was really competing with Rob Liefeld in, hey, you think you can create crazy-ass characters? Check this one out.
Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan of the symbiote talking as much as he is. I actually thought it would have been a little bit cooler to have Eddie just like hear voices, but you don't actually. We the audience wouldn't hear it. We think we're watching a man go insane. I thought that might have play a little bit better.
Highbrow for modern audiences, according to Hollywood.
Well, not just that. Like
Billy Bong with his information, issue 298 was the first appearance of Venom.
Should we get Billy Bong in here?
We should.
Someone want to send them a link, or I can. But yeah, I think it was sort of like the same like with Spider-Man, because we know that in the comics Spider-Man gets the symbiote first, and he didn't. As far as we can tell, the thing didn't talk to him.
Oh no, it didn't.
It just sort of like infested his dreams and then made him act weird sometimes.
Yeah, it made his aggression. It basically made him hyper aggressive.
Though one could argue if the evolution of the character could also just mimic the fact that the symbiote has gotten older, it's gone through more than one host, so it's gained more knowledge by the fact that it's been in symbiosis with multiple wearers.
Well, and it could also be that he's heartbroken from being rejected.
No, well, the symbiote definitely, or symbiote, if you want to say it correctly, it harbored a hatred for Peter because Peter rejected it, despite the immense strength, speed, agility, enhanced abilities in general that the symbiote actually offered. Because it was rejected, and Eddie was like the nearest human who also seemed to hate Peter Parker for no apparent reason and stuff. I think the strong mind and like double hatred for a single person was what eventually caused the symbiote to evolve beyond what it was when it was just on Peter. So there's something to what Igor just said, but at the same time, they never really actually give you a good explanation.
Does it really need one, though?
Not necessarily, not when it comes to Venom.
Yeah. So I also remember from the trailer that when the camera pans up, there is actually multiple symbiotes there. They have a couple different containers and canisters. So who knows what's in the other ones?
So Billy says he can't join because he's going to hit the hay soon.
Okay.
But he thanks us for the offer.
Okay. So yeah, who knows? I'm pretty sure we're going to see Carnage. I don't know how I would feel about that. I know that we need a villain of some sort or whatever. I don't know how they would tackle this. Again, like Venom has been so tied in with Spider-Man that without having Spider-Man in there, how are you going to make it work?
Well,
he did. Yeah, I was going to say he had his own spin-off comic for a while.
It wasn't just a spin-off comic. It did have its own spin-off comic in the 90s, but it didn't sell very well. And then they revitalized the symbiote's actual birthing in a later series somewhere in the early 2000s, just before the 2010s, I believe. Turns out the symbiote comes from an entire race of peaceful symbiote creatures that when they fully mature, they actually develop their own sentient minds, just like any other, sentient being would and everything. And they could take the form of just about anything that they actually can imagine. Essentially, think of them as living constructs like the Green Lantern's rings. And that's what they are. It turns out the symbiote that just so happened to get caught onto the spaceship that JJ's son eventually crash landed back onto Earth with, and it bonded to Peter and all that. That was a baby. So its temper tantrums were legit babies' temper tantrums.
Yeah, I could see that.
Right.
Okay.
Sounds fucking batshit crazy as hell, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, shit.
Oh, Schmecko left, so we got like 10 minutes to go.
Yep. All right, spoil the entirety of the latest Avengers film. Go.
Oh my God. Who wants that responsibility? Marcus, what do you want to say?
I don't know how the hammer works anymore.
Because it was destroyed. We got something new now, motherfucker. We got Stormbringer. Stormbringer's in this movie.
Isn't that Beta Ray Bill's hammer?
It is.
I've been trying to say this on streams for fucking so goddamn long. Look, for anyone who is a little confused on the whole hammer thing, there was a legit in comic book hammer forged after the very first person to ever hold the Mjolnir that was not Thor in the comic book's actual history was an alien, a genetically enhanced horseman named Beta Ray Bill. And this was some kind of crazy story where Thor was legitimately in space and he got knocked the fuck out and Mjolnir went flying away. And eventually Beta Ray Bill found it and picked it up and was deemed worthy and shit. He returned the hammer back to Thor, but Thor was so impressed with how he wielded it and the honor that Beta Ray Bill actually possessed that he wanted to reward him. So the two of them collectively went to Asgard and asked Odin if they could gift him with a wondrous weapon that he could use from that point on to basically protect his people and continue being a great hero and so on and so forth. It just so happened that Mjolnir was forged with a twin hammer called Stormbreaker. They are equals in all things power. That was why they brought Stormbreaker into the movie.
So it's cool to see Stormbreaker. It's a shame we don't get to see Beta Ray Bill. However, there's a small legend with Beta Ray as stuff keeps coming. Like, I think it was in Guardians of the Galaxy where there was a horse head person skeleton in the ruins at the start of the movie.
Yes. There's that skull that you see. It's actually from Beta Ray Bill's people.
Yeah, and then there was another one with Thor Ragnarok when there was that whole faces in the building of the champions.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was Beta Ray Bill. So there's a small legend being formed right now, but we just don't see it yet. Maybe he'll get his own movie for all we know. I doubt it, but it could happen.
That's another thing. Technically, what I just said, it's not a spoiler because the last trailer that came out just before the movie officially dropped, it shows a bunch of scenes with Thor using a hammer. So me saying Stormbreaker exists isn't, again, it's not a spoiler. And anyone who doesn't know this is also, I'm going to fill you in. In the Ultimates...
we got a quick $2 super chat. Justin, Cog's account has been suspended.
What?
Of course.
That his YouTube or his Twitter?
I would assume his Twitter account.
Yeah.
I will assume that as well.
Yeah, because him and Jeff have been going really hard in the paint with each other for the last couple of days, so I'm not even surprised.
Yeah, that drama's been going on.
Yeah. But in the comic books... In the comic books, there is the Thor from the Ultimates universe. He uses a huge two-handed axe type hammer. It is still Mjolnir, but he uses two hands to actually wield this hulking fucking thing, and it does have an axe blade on one side of it, just like how Stormbreaker has. In the comic books right now, in the 616, there is an actual user of that specific Mjolnir. It just so happens to be Volstagg from the Warriors 3. And he's the War Thor, as they are trying to kind of go back to formula and replace Jane Foster. But that Thor was failing, so they're getting rid of him too. It's kind of depressing.
Surprise.
Yeah, but Thor is supposed to come back. Thor Odinson is supposed to come back with a very interesting looking hammer that looks suspiciously familiar, like Beta Ray Bill's very own hammer. And if anyone read the Unworthy Thor comic books, which I actually own the entire run of, in the beginning, Beta Ray Bill offers his hammer to Thor. Thor declines and says, "That is your hammer. Stormbreaker is yours. Though I would love to have it, I can't." But in the previews for upcoming Thor comic books, we see 3 different Thors on the cover. Jane Foster wielding Mjolnir, Volstagg wielding Mjolnir, but from the Ultimate Universe, and Thor wielding what looks like Stormbreaker. So, with all of those things put into play, now everybody's up to speed with the scenes that we saw in the trailer. How does the fucking hammer work? I don't know anymore. Now, I'll explain. In the original Norse mythology, which, for anyone who doesn't actually know, Tolkien actually used Norse mythology to explain the various races of Middle-earth. I'm not shitting you. Norse mythology had elves, dark elves, orcs, and dwarves way before Tolkien ever did. And the way they're described is very similar to how Tolkien describes them in his books. He just scales them differently. Now, when the hammer is being forged, the story behind it is that Loki cuts Sif's hair off in the actual lore. Her golden hair is completely gone, and for some reason she can't grow it back. To make amends of that, because Loki, that fucking prankster little son of a bitch, is literally being threatened with death by his own brother Thor, he goes to the dwarves to basically gift people with various different gifts that will allow him to continue living. But he doesn't want to pay money for it, so he tricks the dwarves into making these fantastical items. Mjolnir, a necklace they give to Freya, Odin's spear, and Sif's own hair, which is made out of dwarven hair, which is, just basically a wig that magically imbues onto her head. The hammer itself, Mjolnir, allows Thor to have enhanced powers, but he can also call it back like a fucking boomerang and shit. That's all it was. In the comic books, they added flight to it. So the two enchantments that the hammer automatically comes with is now the user can fly, and it will come back to you if called. That's it. That's all it is. It's just a simple warhammer that enhances his powers, allows him to fly, and he comes back when he calls it. In this movie, on the other hand, they decided to add in a few other things. Like, as soon as it's forged, he can fucking call it once it's completed. Like, with a handle and everything. Also, he needs it to heal the extreme burns he just suffered. How?
We should elaborate on this. Like, Thor goes in the movie, he goes to, with Rocket and Groot, he goes to this dying star forge thing that actually made his hammer. They go to make him a new one after, you know, his Mjolnir getting destroyed. So they have to go there, and the thing doesn't work anymore because apparently Thanos came over for a visit and asked them to make him his little gauntlet. So that's how he got his gauntlet, by the dwarves. Mm-hmm. And he killed everyone there except for one. A very famous actor plays this one dwarf. Mm-hmm. I can't remember his name. The name. No, the name of the dwarf. I remember the name of the actor. Peter Dinklage.
Oh, okay. I was worried. Like, what?
Yeah, no, Peter Dinklage. No, I get Tyrion Lannister. Yeah, he plays the dwarf. But there's something different about this dwarf. He's fucking huge. So there you go. Yeah. I can take the spoiler warning down.
So he's a giant dwarf.
I was hoping he would be the Silver Surfer, but that was just me. I saw his name in the IMDb. I'm like, oh, please let this be Silver Surfer.
That is okay. So that is actually both partially Norse mythology as well as comic books. In Norse mythology, dwarves are actually fucking huge. They would be considered giants to regular humans, but that's because in their realm, on their world, they are dwarves. There are bigger things than them where they come from. They just so happen to, unfortunately, be considered giants to us, but they still look and move and are essentially dwarves. It's just, you know, the difference in realms and the height scaling and all that stuff. And the comic books, they eventually did bring the dwarves in, but they made them smaller. But on occasion, they would throw in special smithing dwarves that were actually massive in size. So they still had regular dwarves and shit that you would expect from a fantasy world, but they also had giant dwarves as well. And I just thought that was fucking hilarious because it was like, I didn't expect that. I'm glad it happened, though.
Oh, there you go.
Still, giant dwarf. That's not something you see every day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that would kind of caught me by surprise. But it happened, and they made him a new hammer, and it was... They had trouble keeping the damn thing open, so Thor jumped down into the actual iris, opened it, but as a result, he was getting, like, starlight stuff being right through his body. Mm-hmm. How he's alive, I'll never know. But that's kind of like everyone's question right now.
Oh, that's because, and this is one of the things that does sometimes bug me because people tend to forget this. Thor is a god.
Yes. Who we also find out is like, what, a couple thousands of years old?
Yeah, his kind, even in the Norse mythology, lives for well over 5,000 years old.
Well, we already knew his character was thousands of years old because they talk about it in when it was his first film where they reference the fact that, oh, they've been coming to this planet for millennia. We have legends of Thor. And it was the same guy.
Pretty much, yeah.
So I don't know why the audience would be shocked that he's quite old.
Well, some people tend to forget because they, for some reason, like... a good example of how this happens is when the first movie came out with Thor, and then eventually the Avengers, they kind of gave this hint of like, well, what you call magic is science to us, just a different kind of science that has yet to be explained by your kind and stuff like that. And they hinted at in the beginning of the movie of the MCU with Thor is that he's actually not a god. He's more so like an alien. He just comes from a different planet on the other side of the galaxy, blah, blah, blah. And that always irked the shit out of me because I'm like, you're pretty much rewriting a character because you don't know how to classify God in your fucking movie world. That's stupid. So as the story progressed, however, you start to learn and find out that, yeah, technically Thor on multiple levels would actually be from an Asgardian race that is an alien race, and they have their own planet, their own place of existence. And yeah, magic is science that hasn't exactly been explained yet by us, or we don't have a real scientific explanation for a lot of things that happen, why this can happen and that can happen and so on. And then you get down to the nitty-gritty. Well, what we would perceive as an alien is still a fucking godlike being. And one of the things I've always appreciated about Norse mythology is the fact that they are gods that are killable. The Greek and Roman mythology gods, that you can't kill them. Death to a Greek god is castration. You remove his ability to have children, and suddenly you've got a fucking not a god anymore. The dude's gonna just lay around and do fuck all for the rest of his existence. But he will never die. You can't kill them.
Brockus, sorry to interrupt. I'm going to let you finish there. I just want to say, Red Skull comes back. All right, go on.
Oh, yeah. That was really weird. I still don't know what to
All right,
about.
Kanye. I just want to let you all know the Red Skull is the greatest of all evil villains.
I used to think that, and then this movie showed me different.
I don't know what to expect of that. That fucking blew my mind. We're in spoiler territory. I'm going to tell you this right now. In the journey to get the Soul Stone, Thanos goes to this planet and he has to do some things, and right there, his guide, the person who answers all this question, this big floaty, almost Grim Reaper looking like thing in this shroud. This guy, like, he's answering all these questions and whatnot. He talks about the Soul Stone, and he lifts his hood, and you see it's the fucking Red Skull. But he's not like like a villain-esque thing. He's more like a I don't want what would you call him? Like a Brockus, like a spirit, or
He's been forcibly evolved to become a sort of omen-like being. He's no longer allowed to intermingle with the physical realm. He must forever be a part of both.
Okay, that makes sense. So would you say that he's sort of skirting between in the real world and not?
Yeah, you could argue that he is a specter whose sole purpose is to overlook one of the most impossible stones to actually get, and he now has to forever live within the realm of the living and the land of the living and the realm of the dead at the same time, forever with one foot in each world.
I have a speculation about that, but in order for me to talk about that, I have to talk about the biggest thing about this movie, because it involves a conversation about one of the stones. Because the one that's been missing so far is the Soul Stone. And I'm going to tell you this for you guys right now. It was sort of spoiled because of the fucking toys. When when you buy any of the toys of Thanos or you look into any of it, he has all the stones. So it kind of, or he tells you he gets all of them. The Soul Stone is the one stone out there that comes with a price. In order for you to actually, in order for you to obtain the Soul Stone, you have to actually give up a soul.
Yeah, a soul for a soul.
A soul for a soul, but it can't just be any old soul. If you want, personally, you have to sacrifice something to you, something you love. Yeah. And this is the part that actually broke my heart. Thanos, in order to get the Soul Stone, he actually had to kill Gamora. She fucking dies, and it's tragic. I'm going to tell you this. I actually felt for Thanos. He did. And I also felt very religious. Because you know that story about the father who had to take his son out and he tried to kill him on a stone, and then God intervenes and says, "No, it's just a test. You didn't actually have to kill your kid." in this one, Thanos actually kills his kid. He kills Gamora.
God tells Abraham to murder his firstborn son Isaac on a stone because he deemed it so. Abraham was about to actually do that, and God stopped him and said, you shouldn't blindly follow me simply because you believe in me, kind of thing. That was the message of that story. It's a shit message. It's a terrible one. Why would you bring that one up, Samaj, of all the stories?
Because it felt like it appealed. It felt like apt to the scene that was going on. The difference is that no one stopped Thanos. He did it. He did it. And there was a scene there because, like, before all this happens, because he captures Gamora fairly early on, and he knows that she knows where the stone is, and so they get this back and forth, and it goes on for a little while. And I was actually convinced that he fucking loves her, but that's sort of the point.
Okay.
He had to love her.
Update on the cog thing. Here's the part that weirds me out. Right now on Twitter, Wizard of Cause is actually genuinely pissed. I wouldn't say pissed, but he's a little upset that Cog has been suspended. Again, he points out, why is Cog suspended? He's a cunt, but what the fuck? And he actually started the hashtag Free Cog Thought. Although the way he spelled thought was that a ho over there. Still funny. And I'm like, well, that definitely speaks to Wizard of Cause's character. He fucking hates cognitive thought, but here he is saying, why did you silence him? That's bullshit.
That'll be an interesting topic of conversation.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I was going to say, fuck, now I'm losing my train of thought. So he gets the Soul Stone. And the Soul Stone, it's a little vague what it can do, but I know that there's a soul dimension within the stone. Needless to say, Thanos gets all the stones, and he says early on, or it gets mentioned, that all he has to do is snap his fingers, and he can make, I think he can make all life disappear, but I think he chose to only make half of all life in the universe disappear.
Yeah, Gamora hints at in the beginning of the movie, you can see it, of course, in the trailer as well, where she says, since I've known him, he's only ever had one goal in mind, and that is to kill half of the universe. And if he gets all 6 Infinity Stones, he'll be able to do it with just a snap of his finger.
So, snap of the finger, and it happens. And that how it happens and the means in which it happens is the reason why I was talking about the meme that's been going around, where you can see pictures of people just sort of disappearing in dust.
Yeah, because at one point after he does the snap, Bucky is walking towards Steve.
Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good.
Let me tell you, that scene. All right, another thing, Spider-Man, he goes, disappears in a thing of dust. That fucking, I was almost tearful on that one because one, he's just a kid.
Right.
I mean, that seeing kids dying like that. To be fair, I don't think that they're dead. But you definitely get that feeling of it.
Ooh, the Dahlia show is hitting us with a bit of information. It's not confirmed, but this is a little trick that the Soul Stone definitely does. So, a bit more comic book knowledge for you people. The Soul Stone is one of the strangest of all of the 6 stones because of the way it functions. Technically, it doesn't function the way that the time, space, power, reality, or mind stones actually work, where you can actually fuck with people in various ways and such. The Soul Stone is something that is sort of a stone that is just on its own level. Because what can and does happen in the comic books a lot is that a person's soul, their existence, will be inside the stone itself. In fact, in one of the cartoon shows that they actually did, Adam Warlock was trapped inside the Soul Stone. But, yes, the Dahlia show is saying that Gamora isn't dead, she's inside the Soul Stone. And this is one of the reasons why, and I didn't want to actually explain it to Zell, if you're still listening, fuck you. This is why I don't think Gamora is going to be the only one. I think Gamora is going to be the only one of the gauntlet kill deaths that actually will come back. because that is one of the tricks that the MCU can use from their own Marvel formula to bring her back. Everybody else that died before that, yeah, they're probably going to stay dead. There's a good chance of that.
There's a chance of something happening. I do think that there could be more that happens. And oddly enough, I think that's going to play into Ant-Man and the Wasp, but that'll be later speculation.
Possibly.
Well, now we have, if you heard the newest trailer, they're talking about quantum realms and other aspects. That could be a thing. But anyway, so yeah, people disappeared. I'm pretty sure they're in the Soul Stone. I don't think they're dead. I think he just sort of made everyone sort of disappear. And I think that'll be the journey of the next Avengers movie. I think they're going to be they're going to come together and fight Thanos to get the gauntlet to try and reverse what he did. The problem with that is that in order for them to use it, the wielder of the glove needs to make a sacrifice so he can access the Soul Stone. So then the question is, because in the comics, I know that Iron Man gets it. I'm thinking he's going to get it again. And the reason why I also think that is because there's a scene in this movie when Tony Stark is looking right at Thanos, and Thanos knows him, and Tony knows them. And they both say that they've been dreaming of them.
Yeah.
And that's a very scary kind of homage. And I'm pretty sure Tony's going to get the glove. And he's going to have to make a sacrifice. And I have to try and figure out who the hell is going to get sacrificed. That's the part that I think is going to be the most troubling of the next movie.
I have a feeling on who is most likely going to be the one to be sacrificed, and it could go one of two ways. It could be one gigantic fucking cop-out where it's a character that is introduced through these means, and thus they sacrifice themselves, and we don't have to ever see them again in the movies later on, and it's just like, well, fuck you for that. Or it could actually be one of the main Avengers, one of the original 6 Avengers and such. And the only reason why I think that would be a possibility is because, as most people know, and even though, yeah, contracts are contracts and whatever, I don't care what people try to say, RDJ and Chris Evans are 1 foot out the door with this franchise. So either one of them could very easily be the sacrifice necessary to act the Soul Stone.
How many more films is Robert Downey Jr. on the contract for? I thought the next Avengers film was his last contracted film.
There is rumor that he is, of course, going to continue to be on contract, so to speak. Like, not direct contract, but he will have cameos for the upcoming Spider-Man sequel. So it could be he will completely bow out in the Spider-Man sequel. But for the most part, they could easily work around that and say he sacrifices himself in Avengers 4, and he leaves behind a hologrammed version of himself that Peter can use as his mentor.
I hope they don't do that, because then I get flashbacks of Riri Williams, and I don't want that.
Yeah. I know this has been many years since they initially had said this, but one of the ideas they had for the Marvel Cinematic Universe was to pull a James Bond with all the main actors, where, if the actor gets too old or wants to leave the role, you just swap in a new actor and you just don't even acknowledge it.
True. Yeah. Well, with the Infinity Gauntlet and the way that the Infinity Gauntlet can and probably will work, especially with the Time Stone, there is that possibility that we will have a Tony Stark replacement with a younger actor, but it will be, I guess you could say, kind of organic because it's within the realm of their world. So who knows? There's a lot of things going on that you could fucking say this could happen or that could happen.
I would rather that they would just recast the actors than any other means. That's just my hope.
Okay. One joke I wanted to make, but I never got to in theater specifically, is when you legitimately watched Sam Wilson fading away and Jim Rhodes is watching it happen. And in my head, I'm thinking there's only room for one black sidekick in this team. I couldn't stop fucking laughing just because of that thought in my head. I'm like, oh, I'm fucking horrible. Why am I like this?
There's only one token allowed.
Yeah, they even got rid of fucking Black Panther in that same scene, and I'm like, oh shit, 2 niggas is dead.
And they're all coming back, because that's the other thing. I mean, when you already know that there's Spider-Man 2 coming out next summer, it's like, obviously you're coming back.
Spider-Man 2 next summer, Black Panther 2 the following summer. Come on, we know they're coming back.
Yeah. So with that said, though, like, my theory is that they're all in the Soul Stone. They're going to come back in the next Avengers movie. I think the reason why Ant-Man is coming up next is because they're going to introduce things like the quantum realm and other possibilities with that, and I think that's going to be used as a catalyst to Avengers. And it's going to be one of the things they're going to use to try and get the Soul Stone and hopefully make it work. So I think he's going to play a much bigger role, because Ant-Man is nowhere in this movie. Nowhere. And I think there's a reason for that. Well, one, we know the reason. He's under house arrest, so because that's been in the trailers. And obviously it doesn't stop him.
Yeah.
As for Hawkeye, well, that's a good question. I don't know.
Well, you know what I actually have questions of is that when half the universe basically faded away throughout this entire movie, we didn't once see Hawkeye. Is he okay? Is he one of the fucking dusted? I don't know. But I have to think that, like, maybe because it's got to be the original 6 Avengers from the Avengers movie, Hawkeye is still around. But perhaps, and this is the fucked up part, his entire family faded.
Yeah,
That could be.
That would definitely bring him out of hiding.
Oh yeah. I think when he sees like all 3 of his kids and wife just fade into nothing, he would just be pissed the fuck off and be like, all right, who's the motherfucker who did this? Because, and this is the only reason why I say this, in the comic books, they've done that to Hawkeye 3 different times. It is fucked up, but his entire family is killed off 3 different times in the comic books.
I hope not all in the same canon, because there comes a point where you just start murdering everyone around you.
Right? Like, what the fuck? Why Hawkeye every time? Also, why would you do it twice in the same universe? You're just asking for a homicidal archer.
Oh yeah, it'd be bad. Yeah. So, yeah, I am curious. We don't know. I also want to say I love the after the credit scene. It fucking everyone gets like raptured out, and you see him like Nick Fury downtown. He's watching helicopters falling from the sky and people getting in accidents, and there's no drivers there. You can see others dusting away. Like, oh, this is like this movie gets like a couple of biblical references in there, and it's fucking creepy as hell.
Yeah. But that reveal at the end, the end credits and stuff, that's a reveal everyone saw coming. So I wasn't really surprised. I did, however, enjoy how they did it, and then I walked away from the movie and started asking a bunch of questions like, "Wait, but why? Son of a bitch!" Me
too. I'm very much in the why, but there again, I'm pretty sure it's a cosmic factor, because Captain Marvel, I'm pretty sure it has a cosmic thing, because we know that she gets powers, she fights the Skrulls, she's involved with the Kree. I'm pretty sure she gets to meet Thanos. We know Ronan's going to make an appearance, so.
Yeah, that's the other part about it is that a lot of people tend to forget this, but in the late 60s, early 70s, Marvel started dancing around with this concept of cosmic beings and such. One of the main first introduced in this new line of characters was, of course, Silver Surfer, created by Jack Kirby himself. Captain Marvel was a character that was created shortly after or before Silver Surfer, but had his own story going on, so it wasn't really tied into anything quite yet. I can't remember who came first, if it was Silver Surfer or Captain Marvel, because Silver Surfer makes an appearance in a Fantastic Four comic book, but that's all he really gets. He doesn't get his own individual comic book afterwards. Well, not for quite some time. Captain Marvel, however, was one of those cosmic beings, along with Thanos, Adam Warlock, and Galactus, and a bunch of other characters. So these were the characters that came in during the cosmic fucking, like, you know, burst for that particular decade. And then in comic book fashion, because for some reason Marvel just couldn't do anything with this character, they fucking killed the original Captain Marvel off and then just kept recycling with new Captain Marvels. It was depressing.
Now we have Carol Danvers. Although, oddly enough, I remember hearing that the first Captain Marvel was actually a black woman.
No. Okay, so I actually had my information twisted up quite a bit. The very first Captain Marvel was actually Captain Marvel from the Kree Empire. And he disguised himself because at the time they didn't really have a blue skin Kree necessarily, but eventually it was blue skin Kree. But Captain Marvel was a captain of the Kree Empire who came to Earth, was monitoring for Skrull activity because there was rumor that the Skrull were there. Plus, they also wanted Earth to be like a battlefront for them and all that shit. You know, they would be able to like overcome the people and make a base and such like that. So Marvel was there as reconnaissance. Eventually, he fell in love with Carol Danvers and decided that the planet deserved to be untouched by the Kree versus Skrull war. So he eventually fought against his own people when it came time for them to actually conquer it. Over time, however, when the Skrull did eventually show themselves, and there was all kinds of crazy, insane fucking fighting happening left and right, eventually Marvel lost his life. Not before, however, he did accidentally pass his Kree power on over to Carol. So she actually, unfortunately, got some of his power siphoned into her, so now she's just as powerful as him and everything. Hence the name Ms. Marvel. As the story continued, however, the publication of Marvel decided to actually dance around with different versions of Captain Marvel, and the second version of Captain Marvel was Monica Rambeau, a black woman.
How progressive.
Yeah, that was, I believe, in the 70s or 80s, one of the two decades. And she was short-lived as Captain Marvel, but she eventually came back into the story as Prism, I believe, is her new name.
Quasar, I think.
That might have been the new name. Oh, wait, no. Quasar was a completely different character. He was one of the other cosmic ones, but I think she did use that name temporarily until she decided to go with her now name, which is, I believe, Prism. Because she's a part of the mostly black team of the Ultimates.
Now, to some of you who don't know about this, Miss Marvel, as most people would understand, is with Carol Danvers, was one of the great superhero bombshells.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking hottie of the hotties in the Marvel universe.
Anymore.
Well, I'll get to that. But you may be confused if you go to your local comic shop and you think, "Hey, I want to check out this character." Miss Marvel, that name has been sent to a different character. You could say a more progressive character. That would be Kamala Khan, the new Miss Marvel, Muslim superhero. She's technically an Inhuman.
There's no technically she is an Inhuman, and she has stretchy powers.
Yeah, see, it doesn't even bother me so much. Like, obviously, they're shoehorning in another fucking diverse character for the sake of diversity. That's just what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, Miss Marvel should have similar powers to Miss Marvel.
Yeah, I have that same stance because Ms. Marvel had the same powers as Captain Marvel. I don't...
Exactly. There was a reason the names were similar.
I know that the reason why she has the name is because she's actually a big superhero fan in the comics, and Miss Marvel was her favorite superhero. And so Carol thought, yeah, just take the name, whatever.
And that's a dumb explanation in universe or out.
I agree. There's a lot of things about this character and their names that really shouldn't happen. On top of all that, stretchy powers.
Most of the legacy characters, I'm okay with. That one pisses me off. And yeah, another fucking character with stretchy powers. We needed more of those.
Well, DC has Plastic Man and Elongated Man. Now we have.
I'm pretty sure they also have the Elastic Man.
Oh God, yeah, they do actually.
Mm-hmm.
I think the difference here. I think she calls it embiggening. I think that's her.
I don't give a fuck what she calls it. She's basically just a knockoff Reed Richards.
Yeah.
Calling it the beginning, it doesn't help. It just makes it sound like some really bad porn move.
That sounds exactly like something you expect in a low-budget porno.
If memory serves correctly, I do actually have the first issue. I can't exactly remember, but I think she can also alter her appearance. She can warp the shape of it. So I think she took on the appearance of Miss Marvel.
Oh, big surprise. She can do the exact same thing that fucking Mr. Fantastic was known for being able to do. Yeah. Her powers are basically just a copy of his because they killed him off because Axel Alonso was being a salty cunt a few years back when Fox wouldn't make a deal to get Fantastic Four back in the hands of Marvel Studios. So he killed off the Fantastic Four's two big guns, Reed Richards and Sue Richards. I don't know what they did to their fucking kids, and then sent Thing off to be with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and fucking Johnny Storm ended up fucking his ex's older sister when he went and joined the Inhumans. And so because there was this gap missing of fucking stretchy guy, they decided, you know what, fuck it, Kamala Khan. Why? Because the chick who invented her decided she wanted to force diversity down everyone's throat and came up with this trash fire of a character because she's unoriginal.
Yeah.
It's not even just that she's unoriginal. She's a bad character.
She really is.
Like, she is... You can't even blame it on poor writing. They got nothing to work with.
No, I can blame it on poor writing because they copied a character's powers.
No, I mean...
and another character's name and just gave us shit writing from there on.
No, on the part of the current writers. Whoever came up with the character did some bad things.
Yeah, they did.
Like the current writers, there's no way to make this character good unless you want to kill her off.
I've been keeping up with what they're trying to do. Yeah, they have been trying to actually do good with this character, but they just don't know what to do anymore.
So this is the new look of Captain Marvel because Miss Marvel became.
She
Captain
got her
Marvel.
fucking hair back.
Sort of. She has like a helmet she puts on that gives her the mohawk look.
Actually, what this is. You see, this is before she did actually shave the sides of her head.
Yeah, that too. But this is the outfit that they gave her. It's superhero-ish kind of thing. I'm not all that into it, but then again, I mean, they would argue, the feminists out there would argue that her first one was like really revealing. But that is the outfit she'll be wearing in the movie. Let's see if I can get this one bigger.
It's a literal combination of the original Captain Marvel's costume as well as her own Ms. Marvel costume, hence the sash she still wears.
I like that she keeps the sash.
Okay, I am fine with that chick as Captain Marvel. Who's that?
What's her name?
Excellent question. I do not know.
Yeah, I've sort of forgotten. I'm not all that happy with her.
The tits could be bigger. A lot bigger.
Well,
if they want to stay true to the character.
Well, I think they're trying to keep true to the comic, and that's the problem. Because in the comic books, they took a woman who was like a bombshell. She's a hottie, got all the right curves and all that. And they essentially gave her like a double mastectomy. And she's got like A cups and really big hips. And They're not really big hips, really small hips, and she looks more like a man.
We hate men, but we're gonna turn all of our fucking strong female characters into men.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's how you know a female character is strong. She looks like a dude.
I think it's Brie Larson is her name. But this is her outfit so far in the movies. This is probably the first iteration.
Yeah, they'll probably special effects it up later.
Well, they'll either special effects it up, or like this could be an outfit like maybe she'll be enlisted by the Kree or something.
Well, no, actually, I do know what this color scheme is, and this is why I kept saying
X-Force.
No, this is Sword.
Oh, colorblind.
Basically, the color scheme of green, silver, and black is the actual color scheme for another Special Forces type team that was created, some time ago, and it's supposed to be their space version of S.H.I.E.L.D. They deal with aliens and intergalactic type incidents and stuff like that, and SWORD is essentially just it's another acronym. I forget what the fuck it's called exactly, but SWORD is their headquarters is a flying ship in space. It's an old Kree ship that they reconfigured and all that stuff. So when I see that costume specifically, I have a weird feeling that, yeah, she's going to be implicated into SWORD, which only brings up more questions.
Yeah. I wonder how that will affect then the TV series, because then they have to acknowledge, oh yeah, we have this total space division. We just haven't. I just chose not to tell you about it because it left. I forgot.
Right.
It slipped my mind.
We did an entire movie where we had this huge morality issue going on because we're building these huge weapons of mass destruction based off of alien tech because of Thor, and we're blaming it on Thor. But yeah, I completely forgot about our space division.
That the TV series is so fucked right now. Did you see the last episode before Infinity War came out?
No, I actually stopped watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
They introduced the character that controls gravity. I can't think of his name. It was like Graviton or whatever his name is.
Graviton, yeah.
Except instead of it being his own separate character, they merged that character with the general that's always been dogging him over the years.
Fair enough.
And so he's kind of crazy now and controls gravity. He's like, I can fix everything. And that's where the show ends. And I'm like, yes, but Infinity War is coming. How is this going to help? How is this going to connect to the movie now?
It's not. TV shows are never going to directly connect to the movies.
But they've always, at least in the TV show, they've at least the episode, usually in the series for S.H.I.E.L.D., it's usually the next episode where they have to deal with the mop-up of, the aftermath from the movie. Mm-hmm. Or at least if the movie happened on Earth, they have to deal with the aftermath. Like what happened after Thor: The Dark World. The next episode was they were like picking up parts from the ship that had crashed and wherever it was on the planet and stuff like that.
Yeah, you know how they're going to actually mop that up with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Suddenly, half the cast is missing, along with that really powerful villain we introduced.
Yep.
We don't know what's happening.
Yeah, a bunch of shit happened, guys. You missed it. But if you go to the theaters, you can catch up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wait, officially done with our shit.
Can you give us a mundane Matt wink? I feel like that's
wink.
Wink.
No, but yeah, Bruni is officially done with our shit and is in the chat just like pretty much saying like, this person dies, this person dies, this person dies, this person dies, this person dies.
Oh, so many of them die in this
I believe him on every count.
Yeah, that's the sad part. You can't even really argue against it. But if anyone didn't want spoilers, you should have fucking walked away a while ago.
Well,
we did have
I thought a spoiler warning. They should have known this already.
Yeah.
And we did say at the beginning there will be spoilers coming.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you stayed and listened and didn't want to hear any spoilers,
Then you're
Yeah.
stupid. You're an
Yeah,
idiot.
that's all on you.
You're to listen.
fine, Ren. My thoughts on Squirrel Girl is that was a trash character from the start. I've never liked Squirrel Girl. I used to join
Gee,
in on the
Parka,
joke.
did
but
I
that's
do
it.
good with stopping of the Batman?
I hate this character so much.
Oh no, you solved a simple math question. I've been defeated. You're a good man, Parka.
God damn it.
That was the only greatest comic with Squirrel Girl.
She kicked Thanos' ass.
That's the dumb thing. This is why I've never liked Squirrel Girl. She was literally a joke character from the fucking inception. When she entered into the stories, she was just this petite, cute girl who apparently had like squirrel powers and shit and built a costume around those powers and everything. And even though she hated squirrels, she could command them. And for some reason, never lost a fight, no matter who it was, including Thanos. And it was just a joke. That's all it ever was. It was just a joke. And they kept running with the joke. And they wouldn't
And now
stop.
she's a serious member of like every modern team you read from the past like 5 years. It's not a joke anymore, and she ain't cute no more.
Yeah, no, they gave her buck teeth and misshapen body, and it's the worst fucking comic book artistry I've ever seen. And I'm just like, go back to the indies.
But I
Fuck
mean, you can't take a character like that, who is meant to be not just a joke, but an annoying fucking character, and decide, all right, they're an important part of most things now.
For Christ's sakes, I hate Squirrel Girl. She's one of those comic book characters that, above everyone else, no matter how annoyed I am with the fans for, like, say, Batman or even now Harley Quinn, no matter how annoyed I am with origin stories of characters that don't really make a whole lot of sense, I can name several of them from DC, believe me. Squirrel Girl still, to this day, is the one and only character that I think should have died from the beginning. But no.
Yeah, her and Gwenpool.
You know what? I'm going to agree with you on that one. When they started doing the fun little one-shot Gwen Stacy alternate universe things just because of the Spider-Gwen in the Spider-Verse and all that stuff, when they started doing that, I thought, this could be... No, kill it with fire. What the fuck is Gwenpool?
Well, I mean, the Gwenpool thing, I don't really... I'm not really bothered by that. She's just someone from another universe who actually became...
No. She's supposed to be someone from this universe. And it was done. DC did it with Superboy Prime. And it's come now.
She came into this universe. Yes, she was an actual character in that universe, but that character's gone missing. The point is that the panels have gone over, and a character from our world, which is Gwenpool, is in their world. It just so happens that that girl in that comic book does exist, but she's not aware of like that she's in a comic book or nothing. But this new girl, this other Gwen from a different universe, she is aware. The difference is that they're two different characters that just these two different people just sort of they switch spots or something.
Yeah, it was stupid.
It's stupid. It was canceled. I mean, she just she realized, okay, no, I'm not supposed to be in this universe. I'm supposed to be here. I am just a regular girl. I'm not a Gwenpool or anything. She just used the name and thinking, yeah, okay, that makes sense. No way, it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't.
She realized it doesn't make sense, but then she realized she's in a comic book, and then she realizes she can jump from panel to panel, and she's like, oh, fuck, I am totally fucked. How do I get out of here?
Ren, to answer your question, I don't have a problem with Harley Quinn, much like I don't really have a problem with Batman. I mean, technically there are a few issues I do have with Batman, but that's for a completely different thing at a later time.
He's completely ineffectual as a hero, and it's his fault that people keep dying by all of his villains.
Shortened up by Schmeckel in a perfect way. That's actually one of the problems, one of the major problems I do have with Batman sometimes. But with Harley, I don't have a problem with Harley herself. It's the fans that drive me insane because I have seen some batshit crazy fans. Like our very own Harley Quinn that we interact with on Twitter. I like her. She's fine. Ren, you're fine. You're a Harley fangirl. Most of the people that I interact with on YouTube and Twitter and stuff who are fans of Harley Quinn, I have no actual problems with. You're good fans.
There's that one I don't like. Harley Quinn's Happy Hour, I think.
I'm not sure I'm familiar with that one.
A friend of a non's can't fucking stand her.
Oh, okay, fair enough. But yeah, it's the Harley Quinn fans that drive me fucking insane. Are you trying to cuten up Squirrel Girl? You're doing a shit job of that. What is that? What am I looking at? Kill it.
What the hell? Is that furry porn now?
I don't know. I just typed in Squirrel Girl on Google image search, and this is one of the things I found out. That and this.
What? Why?
That needs to die.
Of course.
It's not real, but that needs to die. That needs to die too.
Oh, fuck you. That's fine.
Oh.
Squirrel. And yes, I mean, Squirrel Girl is one of those lovable idiots. All right? She's
she's not. She's just an idiot.
Yeah, true enough. I mean, she's trying to be a superhero. She can't. She's a bit of an idiot. That's what she is. But she's trying. And that's sort of the point. I mean, if everyone's in on the joke, that's fine. The thing is, in the comics right now with Squirrel Girl, they're like, no, she's a legit superhero, and she can legit kick anyone's ass. That's stupid. No, she can't. She's supposed to be the idiot, the comic relief, who's trying to be a hero, but's too stupid to realize that, no, honey, you're going to hurt yourself. Stay down, okay? But she thinks, hey, I could talk to squirrels.
And somehow that warrants her being the most unstoppable character ever. No,
if you could talk to squirrels and like they'd listen to your commands and shit, that would be a pretty amazing power. If you weren't in a world filled with people with much better powers.
I mean, ultimately, like her best move
of us today learns how to make the squirrels obey us. Well, we're getting powerful to some degree, at least. You know?
I think you could. The problem with the squirrel thing is that the power, you only really have powers in the summer. Wintertime, they're all hibernating.
Well, I mean, you could just command them not to hibernate, but then I think you just lose your army.
You have to feed them, all right? You fucking feed them. But come summertime, yeah, sure, you can probably get maybe an army of squirrels if you wanted to. I think that's more useful to do things like gather information than it would be to actually, like, we'll use you to do stuff.
Yeah, you could have your own fucking spy network running across the fucking world.
Yes.
I mean, I guess realistically across whatever continent you're on.
I mean, technically, like, right now we're creating a better Squirrel Girl comic than what we have now. Like, the unbeatable Squirrel Girl is stupid.
Yeah, so much. You and I should be writing fucking Squirrel Girl.
Don't give them ideas. I don't.
No, give them ideas. I'm pretty sure issue 1, page 2, she's dead. We never have to see her again.
What happened to her? Oh, she choked on some nuts.
These nuts.
that would be a total Deadpool joke. What happened to Squirrel Girl? She choked on these nuts.
And then just be fucking cause they can. Black Panther pops his head from around the corner and says, "Got him!"
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the type of character that you could make good if you ignored everything built up about her up until this point, except for her powers.
Just make her like an apprentice of Daredevil. I mean,
kill her off and have a new Squirrel Girl. One who isn't shit.
I mean, we could do that. Or just kill it. Leave it dead.
Yeah, I mean, have her go to fucking Thanos for round 2 and have him do one of those things that villains always do where they're like, oh, I'm much stronger than I was last time you saw me.
Oh,
and
God,
he just kills it dead.
That's the most annoying anime trope fucking ever, and I think it is personified good and bad in fucking Dragon Ball Z. I'm stronger than I was the last time we faced Frieza. I don't fucking care. I've always hated that. Like, I don't get the whole like you get your ass kicked and then you come back and beat the shit out of them. Like, can't you just get your
Dazzler
ass
and
kicked?
Squirrel Girl are an item.
No, I don't. This is some other guy. Also, cleavage.
That's what's his name? The guy that used to be Penance.
Speedball.
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 Oh,
Okay.
fucking hell! Really? That dude's still around?
Well, this is probably from an older comic because Squirrel Girl's got boobs here.
Oh,
Also,
true.
the artwork is infinitely better than. Oh God.
True. Oh,
Oh God.
don't show that.
Why?
Stop showing that.
Burn it with fire. Burn it with fire.
God. The modern Squirrel Girl looks like someone was a fan of the Archie comics and thought that was the greatest style to work from.
Well, it's actually a known fact that the head artist for the Squirrel Girl comic books is actually a female artist who legitimately was known for this style of art in the independent company that she was actually working for beforehand. So I'm not remotely surprised.
They knew it was going to be like this when they hired her on.
Oh yeah.
Well, the rumor is that she practically like blackmailed people to give her the job, because prior to this there was a different artist who, let me see if I can find her, because her picture this was the artist they were going to get to do Squirrel Girl, this little kind of cartoony, almost anime like stuff. This is the kind of cute art that would have been ideal for, like, because Squirrel Girl was also supposed to be like a kid's comic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think this would have done quite well. But for some reason, this artist who's infinitely more popular didn't get the job. And you try to figure out why that is, and the rumor is blackmail. You're not going to hire me because I'm a woman, that kind of stuff.
Well, again, it's kind of ironic that a woman got another woman out of a job because, feminism. But this artist actually was apparently the original plan for Squirrel Girl was to keep Squirrel Girl nothing more than a kid-friendly comic book, and it was just a joke. She wasn't meant to be taken seriously. Her adventures had nothing to do with the main story or anything like that. And then the artist who's now in charge pretty much came in, flung her fucking phallic thing around. I don't know. It probably wasn't a dick, but it was definitely phallic in shape.
I imagine the tantrum looked something like this.
Smaller.
Yeah.
I imagine her temper tantrum was something like this.
Very similar to it. And it's depressing because it's
I didn't know superheroes that can defeat anything could look so like they're suffering from Down's syndrome.
You see that too, huh? It looks like she's got Down. She probably has autism, and like she went from like.
It kind of looks like Opal.
That's mean. That's too mean, man. What are you doing? You can say that about her cooking, but goddamn, this looks like Opal cooking.
Not the autism shit and all that. Just ignoring the fact that she's counting the fact that she's Mexican, because that's very important. We need diversity. Would Opal not make a good Squirrel Girl?
I think Opal would make a better Squirrel Girl artist by leaps and bounds.
Oh, that too. Yeah, as an artist, she'd do a lot better than this shit.
Yeah. Goddamn. Squirrel Girl, like pictures of her, she looked a lot more, let's say, curvier and more like an actual woman. This little looks like breasts. Where are breasts? No, you can't have those. Those are gross. This is all about
breasts are appealing to men, and you can't have that in comics.
No, that's wrong. That's terrible. Also, they gave her like this really boyish short hair. Like, does that even remotely look like a woman?
She has a very mannish jawline, the way it's been drawn in all the panels. It's the dress thing she's wearing looks more like something you'd expect a guy to wear, even though you can tell it's cut for a woman. It looks like a guy that lost a bet.
Yeah, basically.
Terrible.
And it's not specific to Squirrel Girl. It's a lot of the fucking artists nowadays. A lot of them are shit you'd expect to see on Tumblr, not something you paid money for. Not something that
some of these artists got their start on Tumblr.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, like you buy some of this shit, and I mean,
no, we're not disagreeing. I'm saying some of these artists that work for Marvel got their start on Tumblr.
No, I realize that, but it shows. Like you look at the shit, and like somebody had to put the time into. I mean, obviously they have presses and all that, but like these have been printed and put together as books to be sold. Like it's the artwork is at least as important as the story when it comes to comic books.
I agree. I 100%.
You can't fucking skimp like that.
Yeah.
Well, with Tumblr, you're gonna get artists that are gonna appease the vocal minority, not necessarily your fans, but again.
And then they wonder why their comics get canceled.
I'd like to remind everyone this is a woman. This is a woman.
She kind of looks like Shang-Chi.
A little bit. And I'm kind of worried that might be what they were specifically going for.
They look at their little like photo references they probably have on StockCom for action shots, and just sort of drew over it. Went, yeah. Oh wait, yeah, woman. Yeah.
Here's my problem though. I might hate the art, but it is in no way actually bad art. It's actually very good. If you like that sort of thing, I don't like it in my comic books. I want it to go back to Tumblr or independent comics where it actually belongs. This kind of artwork, maybe not so much this, but the one that you were,
would be a lot more popular.
Choose your words carefully, my dude.
I think I would have to take a second guess. But this specifically, this does not belong in my mainstream comic books.
It looks like an Archie comic.
Circuit. It does, and like. I'm not necessarily saying I am some sort of fucking gatekeeper for comic book art or anything like that. For God's sakes, I've said I like Rob Liefeld's shit over and over again. He is one of the biggest sinners of comic book art there is in comic book art history. But I'm just saying this is not my cup of tea. When it comes to Marvel and DC, this is not the type of art I enjoy, and I don't want it in my comic books.
Further. It's not only not the type of art that Brockus enjoys or that I enjoy or that most comic book fans enjoy. It's not good.
So
okay.
When Opal can outdo it, and Opal Opal's not bad, but she's
still progressing. My argument against this style of art is it's not what you, at least for those of us that are old enough to have collected comics in the 80s and those that are older in the 70s and even further back. It's not the style you've come to think of when you think of Marvel or DC. It doesn't have that. To look at that, unless you know who the character Squirrel Girl is, would you guess that's a Marvel comic character?
Fuck no. Like, okay, Samaj, go back to one of the better drawings of Jack Kirby. I'm sorry, not Jack Kirby, of Squirrel Girl. Not that one.
Okay. It had to be specific there, did we?
I'm just one of the better ones that wasn't overly fucking dirty. Okay, look, right here. This is good artwork. This is someone who was a fan at one point of greats like Jim Lee or Jack Kirby, the legends of comic book artistry that we've all come to know and love. The one that looks like it comes from Archie has probably never heard the name Jack Kirby a day in their life until they got the job at Marvel and decided, who's Jack Kirby? Oh, that guy. I'm better than him. No, you're not. Don't you ever fucking say that.
Argyle brings up a good point. The art in the Archie style Squirrel Girl, it's very flat. There's no life to the character. There's no motion. I don't feel like anything's actually happening in those scenes. Exactly. Even in the original Archie comics, even though it had this style, there still was a sense of movement and so on, because even though it was kind of gestural in its in its style.
I think there's definitely a lot of hints of cartoon art influence in here. Like this panel in particular, I'm like, I could see this on like a Steven Universe.
How is it her reflection gets more mannish? Look at the reflection of Squirrel Girl in the mirror.
Yeah, I have noticed that. I mean, I miss the good old days when like girls looked like girls instead of more like men. I mean,
and the men looked like men instead
Yeah.
of like girls.
I think it should be pointed out to any feminists out there. It's okay to look like a woman. You don't need to hate yourselves for looking feminine.
Oh God.
I thought that was your thing, not mine. You guys are supposed to be making that argument.
It brings up an excellent question though. Do you think if we printed out a bunch of fucking pieces of paper, and it said it's okay to look like a woman if you are a woman, and put it all over college campuses, do you think that suddenly the next day there would be some big ass fucking story from CNN?
Yeah.
This is sexist.
Well, there was an article talking about how no girls in the Avengers movie have ponytails, and yes, that's sexist. I do remember that being a headline.
Yeah.
That was, I'm triggered.
I think I remember seeing someone share something like that on Twitter, and I don't know how I reacted. It wasn't well. I did not react well to it.
Oh, what made it worse was there's no there was a follow-up on that, which basically said there's no female superheroes that have ponytails, and so like there was like a dozen tweets back with like superhero women that have ponytails and action hero females that have ponytails, and in films it was pretty funny.
Yeah,
I
there's
think
a ton of them out there actually.
I think society at large is tired of this shit.
Yeah,
it's petty, it's silly, it's a conspiracy theory, or it's just some it's like people that hate themselves and want you to hate everything that's beautiful. And there's nothing wrong with beauty as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, you know what actually would be fucking hilarious to find out is that like these articles keep coming out, and the bedroom feminists are still probably pushing the articles and saying like, this is such a great article by Vice, or whatever the case is, and like you've still got all those radical feminists out there that are actually pushing this stuff and saying like, they're so right, the non-ponytail stuff is sexist. And then there's the other ones, like the other half of the bedroom feminists, like maybe they are still going to college and they're making YouTube videos saying like, this is why feminism is good. Then they read those and they're like, you know what? You ruined it for me. You killed the dream by doing that.
You don't see bedroom feminist videos anymore. I have to wonder how much of it is that. Eventually people, they got responded to so much, they actually had to start paying attention to what's going on.
Like, if Disney would make a cartoon show of Squirrel Girl and it would look something like this, I might not like the show, but I wouldn't mind looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like,
yeah, that screams like a Disney cartoon. Like I could see this as a Disney cartoon for kids, where it's just her adventures with the squirrels, but I could see her like making little costumes for a bunch of the squirrels and having a bunch of squirrel Avengers running around trying to solve weird, silly adventures.
Yeah, it's fine. It's kid friendly, and I think that was also the attempt of the comic itself, like the one they had going. The kids aren't reading it; they don't care.
Yeah.
I remember Diversity in Comics has some kids, and he has like a little girl. He actually bought a couple and gave it to her, and she asked her what she thought. I remember her saying she didn't like it, and he asked why. She just goes. His daughter would say, she just sort of brags. She's so powerful, and she just doesn't like her. No one likes that, like someone who like sort of brags and is self-obsessed and all that.
Yeah, it's one of the like a lot of the times whenever people are probably shitting on comic books or like I guess you could say SJW Marvel and stuff like that. Most of the times it's not because women are in comic books or there's more attention to female characters than there is.
Okay, hold on. Billy Senpai brought up a point. There was a show called Rescue Rangers. Yes, there was. Squirrel Girl, since they're both Disney properties, teams up with the Rescue Rangers.
I actually wouldn't be opposed to that.
Exactly. Can you imagine this? Can you imagine the Rescue Rangers' shock when she's like, "Yeah, I understand you."
Well, Gidget is like the fucking character that spawned an entire generation of furries, so I wouldn't be remotely surprised. You think I'm joking? The sad part is it's actually accurate. Go on Tumblr, go to furry forums and shit.
I'm not going down that hole.
I've seen too many screenshots that have been shared around, and it's meant to be a joke, and then I realized the truth behind it. There were two very important characters, cartoon characters in the 90s that paved the way for an entire generation of furries. Gidget was unfortunately one of them. The other one everyone should know.
April O'Neil?
No.
Chitara.
No. Chitara, surprisingly, is not actually one of the two female characters, animated characters from the 90s.
She walked around naked throughout episode 1. I mean, come on.
Understandable. Okay, but this is actually a misconception people like to just throw around because, she's technically an actual furry and shit. No. The other one was a character that was literally introduced in Space Jam.
Jessica Rabbit?
Lola Bunny, you fucking idiot.
Lola Okay.
Lola Bunny and Gidget from Rescue Rangers are the two female fucking anthropomorphic characters in the 90s that bred an entire fucking generation of furries. It's not even a joke. That's an actual fucking thing. Most furries say that the reason they became a furry was because of one of those two characters.
I'm just sad now.
Because you wanted it to be Chitara?
No, that it's just that sad.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, think about it like this. Gidget was a character that was out when the three of us were kids and getting right around the time of puberty. I can't say that about Schmeckle because we all know Schmeckle is much younger than the three of us.
Mm-hmm.
And Lola Bunny.
Oh, Schmeckle's out of here. When did he drop out?
He keeps dropping in and out for some goddamn reason. I think he's having internet connections, which, in all honesty, it's not a surprise because apparently a lot of people have been having internet connection problems today.
Yeah, I've been dropping in and out for some reason, and I got good internet.
I have decent internet, and for some reason, like in the very beginning, I would say maybe 10 minutes into the stream, all of a sudden, everything just went completely frozen for me, and it just had to come back, and I was fucking annoyed.
We spoiled everything in Avengers pretty much, so I mean, we can end the stream well if we had to.
True.
We left undone.
Well, we're spoiling Avengers 4 now, or whatever one it will be. Squirrel Girl will be the one to defeat Thanos and reset the universe.
If that happens, Igor, I will fucking hunt you down and I will strangle you.
Oh, bullshit. Because you know what's going to happen is someone was just going to hear a loud gunshot in the movie theater.
I will strangle you.
Because we know you'll just shoot yourself after watching that from sheer depression.
Oh, I didn't say that I wouldn't fucking kill myself first. I would kill myself, come back as a ghost for being entangled, and then strangle you.
Hey, Schmeckle's back. That's good. It's good. I'm going to hold off some hope here and assume, maybe, possibly, what if, could be, Squirrel Girl makes an appearance in Deadpool.
I don't want that to happen. And if she does make an appearance, I hope Deadpool shoots her right in the fucking head.
No,
she might be one of
choking on nuts.
I'm pretty sure. Well, that could be. I mean, it's either that or she won't survive the parachute scene.
I actually wanted to talk about one of the other topics that's actually on the
Go for it.
The thing, Hellboy the game. Are they making a video game to promote the upcoming new Hellboy movie franchise?
No clue. I hadn't heard anything about it.
Well, that was one of the topics, and now I want to look it up. And
you assume people message me with what we're talking about. I get the link 5 minutes before we go on air.
True. I want to dig a hole in my backyard and make like an entire streaming room underground that is ventilated, but also for the most part soundproof. And I want it to be encoded to where the only way you can actually get in and out of that is with the passcode that only I will have. This way I can go and stream without anyone fucking making noise in the background all the goddamn time, or that goddamn dog pissing me off all fucking day.
One stream we're all just going to hear
Just go to your neighbors and piss on their lawn. She'll lose.
I will give you all the super chats for a year if you kill that goddamn dog.
Dude, I was so tempted earlier today because when I shit you not, when we were about to go live for Proper Villains Live, the dog started barking and wouldn't stop for like 5 fucking minutes. I didn't understand it. It was like somebody had taken a bag of kittens and hung it onto the fucking the top of the fence just to where the dog couldn't reach it. And the kittens kept meowing, and the dog just kept trying to kill it. And I'm just like, I'm going to go over there, and I'm going to strangle you in front of the kids. Those little fucking kids that are still like 7 and 8 years old. I'm going to do it right in front of them, and I'm going to fucking look them in the eyes and just going to, oh, this is your goddamn fault for not shutting it up.
All right, and on that note, I think we'll wrap up. Samaj, do the thing.
Well, thanks for coming over and checking out the Cunt Stream. We had Brockus, Schmeckel, Igor, and myself. Well, that's it. We're done.
Get the fuck out of here, cunts.
Get the fuck
You
out.
don't have to go home, but